Hey, it's November here. I know it's been a really long time since I've done a YouTube video. It's been a while since I've streamed on Twitch too. Um, but with the start of the Smite Pro League happening tomorrow, April 21st, it's like 11 Mountain Standard Time. I don't know what it is, Pacific or Easter Time really. But the SPL starts tomorrow. Happens this weekend. Weekend number 1 coming up. I thought it was a pretty good time for me to make this video. I've had an idea for a long while to sort of talk about the games every week during the week because I can't really watch them on the weekends all that often. When I can, I do. Like tomorrow I'll be able to watch them, but I can't stream them. I'm working. So not really something I can do. It doesn't, like, the time just doesn't fit well for that. So I'd probably make videos during the week about how the games went on the weekends because I end up watching the SPL VODs regardless. I thought it'd be a great way to talk about Smite, talk about a thing that I enjoy on my personal time, talking about the Pro League. For work, I work on Overwatch and I love watching the Overwatch League, but I've watched the SPL for forever, so it's just been a part of me, ingrained into me. If this video helps a couple more people watch the Pro League more often, then I've done what I wanted to do. So, some context for me, I just said I work on Overwatch, but I've been watching the SPL since Season 3, Season 4. Probably my favorite team was that old rival team with Callus, Deathwalker, and Ice Ice Baby. I loved watching that team, and Vote, by the way, that'll come up later. I loved watching that team. Really sad that they lost 2 in a row. You'll learn that I'm a big fan of losers. I love teams that lose. Man, we hate winners here, okay? Winning sucks. I hate winners. But losers, I like losers. So I loved that rival team. I subsequently followed that rival team to the next iteration where it was Fine OK and Arkle and PBM and Panda. I liked that team quite a lot too. And then what did they go on ahead and do? They lost in the finals too. So really love losers. Really, really do. That's who I am. I love playing solo lane. That's the lane that I play. I love the mid lane gods quite a lot. I love mages. It's the class that I started to play first, but I just love playing in the solo lane. I love the feeling that I get from the solo lane. Just the minute stuff. Also, I'm a dummy and I hold the W key, so that's just who I am. And I also love playing support. I love being in the front line, so I'm a frontliner. I've watched Smite for a while. I haven't played a lot this season actually, but I always watch the competitive stuff. I always watch the SEC or the SPL. I don't know what it is. It's just a thing that I love. So I'm going to channel that love for those things and put it out on the internet for other people to see. And if, like I said, even 2 people start to watch the SPL because of me, I will have done my job. So in some capacity, I guess. So, I guess we could start, as you probably hear sirens going on around me. That's lovely, just as I start to record. Who cares? Let's one-shot this during lunch. Let's go. So I think the best place to start is with the teams. Because of where my camera is, you can't really see the sticks very in, I guess. But there are 8 teams. These 8 teams are categorized into 2 groups. They'll play those teams in their groups twice, and once with the teams from the other groups. And looking at this lovely website, would you suspect that this is a group? Because it's not. This isn't one of those groups, and this isn't the other group. But whatever. Let's just talk about the teams. Let's talk about the players. And my goal for the end of the video is for you to have a team that you root for, where when I have a video next week talking about how the first week went, you go, how did the Highland Ravens do? I want to see how the Highland Ravens did. They're the team I care about and I'll watch, and I want to know how they did. That's my goal for this video, for you to have a team that you root for, so that in the subsequent weeks, you check on the video and you say, how did the Highland Ravens do? Or how did the Camelot Kings do? I want to know how they did. So that's the purpose of this video. I told you that 4 minutes into the video. I apologize, but that's the purpose of the video. Let's just go alphabetically, because that seems as though how they've set up this team structure. Let's start with the Atlantis Leviathans. The Atlantis Leviathans have 5 players and a coach. I just want to make sure that if you don't know how the SPL teams are set up, that that's how they are set up. Each team will have a solo laner, a jungler, a mid laner, a support and a carry, and a coach. At least one coach. I think the Jade Dragons technically have 2. I'm not sure how they're able to set that up, but there will be 6 people on a team. The Atlantis Leviathans have Fine OK, Adapting, Shinto, Rongyu, and Zapman. If you're new to Smite, you probably none of these names mean anything to you. But if you know Smite to an extent, and maybe you've watched Smite like season 3, maybe season 4, maybe you know Adapting, and you probably know Zapman too. Those are 2 names that pop out to you, and for good reason. Adapting, for a lot of people, is the GOAT, the greatest of all time in Smite. He's one of the best junglers that's ever played the game. He's one of the reasons that Rival didn't win some of those years, so I'm not sad about that at all. But he's one of the best junglers. Has one of the best minds for the game. He's very competitive. He's just good for the Smite competitive scene in general. So I'm very excited he's returned for this year. This is his comeback year. Kind of like Michael Jordan, really. Like, I think that's a fair comparison. Basically Michael Jordan of Smite. I love that joke with Christian Pulisic. He's the Michael Jordan of soccer, but that's Adapting. This team, I think, is going to be fun to watch play because of a couple of reasons. Zapman and Shinto, the carry and mid, which are the backline, if you think about it, in when I said I was a frontliner, so I love solo and support, I love being in the front and tanking damage. The 2 damage dealers, the carry and the mid, these 2 are really good at dealing damage. Really, really good. They're great in team fights. They're great by themselves in boxing matches against their lane opponent. They're really good at dealing damage, and they're good at knowing if I die, I need to deal as much damage as I can so that we can still win the fight. Rongyu is taking that step. He's already won a Worlds, so it's not like he's taking that step, really. But he's solidifying himself as in like the guard of some of the best supports in the league. There's a couple of levels of supports that I think you'll notice when I start to talk about some of the teams where you don't have to worry about this support. This support is going to be great because they're a great support. Like, you hit a level at some point where you are just great. And Rongyu is getting there at just being great. He's had some slip-ups recently that have kept him on that block of being great, but he's almost there. And then Fine OK has solidified himself as a player who practically deserves a ring, a Worlds ring, because of how great he's played consistently over the past couple of years as a solo laner. He's done really, really well. If you know Smite, but maybe not the Pro League, maybe you know Fine OK because of his content on YouTube and Twitch. But he's really, really good, very consistent, and him and Adapting together, I think, are going to create a lot of space in a team fight for these other 3, Zapman, Rongyu, and Shinto, to make stuff happen. So this team will be very exciting to watch. I think it's a good team to root for. I don't think they're going to start off really hot, though. I think the Atlantis Leviathans are going to be one of those teams that loses quite a few games in the beginning. People start to say that they suck. Why did Kenneth come back? Why did Adapting come back? I think they're going to be one of those slow burn teams, and that's okay. But just keep that in mind if you like the Atlantis Leviathans. I think they'll be a fun team to watch, and you won't get a lot of return in the beginning, but at the end of the year, I think you'll have a fun team that'll be doing well in tournaments. The next team up is the Camelot Kings. This team just won Worlds, so this is the previous winners. These are the guys who won last year. In fact, winning isn't quite enough. They didn't lose a single game on their run to winning Worlds, so they were very, very good is what I'm trying to say. They consist of Variety, Captain Twig, Big Man Tings, Genetics, Yarkor, and Biggie. The Camelot Kings are kind of similar to I'm trying to think of a team, like a regular sports team to compare them to, but I won't do that. It's not quite fair. The Camelot Kings are a very smart team on how they play the game. If you enjoy watching a team that you can point to and say they did this so that they could win, this is a team that does that. They play objectives really well. They play small macro things really well. Each of these players is okay dying if the rest of the 4 can win the game because of their death. They have really selfless players on this team. Genetics will die if he knows that the rest of the team can win a fight. Captain Twig plays a jungle style in which he kind of facilitates the rest of his team to do really well. And Variety in the solo lane will be given a god, told to not lose his lane, and then comes over and wins a team fight for the Camelot Kings. It's genuinely kind of mind-boggling how Variety ends up doing that sometimes, but this is how this team plays. They play not passive, they play patiently, they play correctly, and then they end up winning games because of it. If that's the meta that the game itself is in, you be patient and then you can win, the Camelot Kings will end up winning a lot of those games. They don't make mistakes often, and by not making mistakes, they don't give the other teams room to beat them. Darkor has made that step that I was talking about with Rongyu as just one of the best carries in the game, one of the best players in the game. Genetics is a very smart, good support. Big Man Tings will play anything you want him to in the mid lane, with some exceptions. He has a smaller god pool than most, but if you give him a god, he will play incredible on it. Captain Twig, like I said, is your facilitator, and Variety makes space. And Biggie is a smart coach. He's one of the, from what I've seen, I guess, I have no knowledge of how people actually are on these teams as people. But from what I've seen, Biggie is really good at getting teams cohesive and playing a certain way. So they're a really great team. Like I said, they won last year, but I don't feel like rooting for the Camelot Kings is doing something like bandwagoning onto a team. Because if you had asked me at the beginning of the year, last year, if Camelot Kings were going to win the championship, I would have told you no. They were not going to win it. I would have told you somebody like the Jade Dragons or the Atlantis Leviathans again, or somebody else. So the Camelot Kings played really good Smite at the right time, and they won because of it. I don't feel like that's a bandwagon kind of pick. So if you support them, you're picking a team that always plays right. Maybe it won't be exciting all the time, but they play correctly. So that's your choice there. Next up is the Eldritch Hounds. They're a team that fought through the play-ins to get to the SPL, by which I mean they had to play other teams in order to qualify to the SPL. The previous 2 automatically qualified. So we have a little bit more data on this team, on how they play together, if that's what you can call what we have data. This team consists of Ducky, Oath, Benny Q, Quig, Vaporish Coast, and L Chuckles. I'm trying to think of what to say about this team. And I think the best way to summarize this team is that this will be a team where from week to week you don't know what you're going to get. Vaporish Coast is one of the best carries mechanically. I suspect that exists in the league, even though he's quite young. I say quite young. He's been a promising talent for years and has finally gotten to the SPL. So watching this team is watching a lot of younger guys make their strides in the league. This is rooting for a younger team that's playing against some of the more established players and can show their stuff. So Vaporish Coast, Quig, Oath, Benny Q was in the league last year. These guys are able to show their stuff this year. That they'll make the next step. You're watching this team to see how they do against some of the more established teams. Vaporish Coast plays some crazy stuff, loves to box in lane, loves to have big kill streaks and team fights. It's a very exciting style of Smite that I suspect this team will play. And it'll be really fun to watch. You might not win a lot of games rooting for this team, but it will be a lot of fun to watch this team play Smite. Quig will be really good at facilitating Vaporish Coast, to do the stuff he wants to do. Quig is on that lower tier of supports, I feel, right now, and that's pretty unfair because the jump that you have to go from SEC to SPL is really, really a jump for support. It's tough. It just is. But Quig is in that realm of he's getting there in that support role. I hope we see a jump this year. It will really push the Eldritch Hounds to the next level if Quig takes that step up to like maybe where Rongyu is or something like that, where you don't feel like Quig is picking fights that are losing his team the game. Benny Q and Oath have some odd picks, weird picks that they like to choose. This team will have very unconventional team compositions, I suspect. I think that will be, like I said, it will make for very fun Smite to watch. They might win a couple games off of it. There might be some really weird things that come out of their games that you just have to watch. You just have to see. That'll make for great Smite. And then Ducky is a consistent solo laner that was in the league and is now back in the league after a year or two. I'm excited to see what he can do with a team that seems more stable than some teams he's been on before. He's really been on lower end teams and hasn't really been able to showcase what he can do with a team. He's always looked good, but you can look good on a bad team. So this team will be exciting to watch. It'll just be a fun to watch team. And so picking them is basically picking you love watching fun Smite win or lose. That's the Eldritch Hounds. Next up is the Gilded Gladiators, another team that had to go through the play-in tournament to get here. They were the second team in. The Eldritch Hounds won straight away into the Pro League. The Gilded Gladiators had to play a second qualifying game, so they almost didn't make it. The Gilded Gladiators consists of Scary D, Kirmi, Snoopy, Inbound, Stewart, and Xir as their coach. This team, if you don't know Smite, kind of looks like a bunch of guys. If you do know Smite, you look at this team and you see a lot of people that are SPL quality, that it seems odd that they did the play-in tournament and almost didn't make it. Scary D's been in the SPL before. Inbound has been in the SPL before. Kirmi has been in the SPL before. Snoopy has been, I believe, at one point in time in the SPL before. And Stewart was on the team that went to finals last year and lost to the Camelot Kings. He played pretty damn well the whole tournament. And here he is on the Gilded Gladiators. Stewart plays a really good style of carry. Kind of consistent. Boxes sometimes, does well in team fights. He's neither here nor there, but he's good at what he does. Inbound is a relatively aggressive support. Will be picked and will pick other enemies to start a fight. That's just what will happen. Scary D is a lot like Ducky in that he looked really good on like a bad team for a while, and has also won a world championship, so he has that caliber of player in him. Just can he get back to where he needs to be? Kirmi is one of the best mechanically gifted junglers we have in the league. The junglers are really good, of course, but Kirmi is a player that loves to win and will probably win this team some games based on just how well he's playing. There are some players in the league that there's a joke within the community that it's called the triple double, where you die 10 times, you get an assist 10 times, or double-digit assists, double-digit kills, double-digit deaths. Kirmi is probably going to end up being in that realm because of how I suspect Kirmi plays this year. He plays pick gods, which means he'll probably play something like the Fenrir or the Sinor Thanatos or just a whole bracket of gods that you go in and you probably don't come back out. And then Snoopy is a very smart mind. He has a good mind about the game. He plays mid laners that are relatively safe, so he's not going to be a pushy mid laner, but he's good in team fights when Inbound and Scary D and Kirmi make a lot of space for him and Stewart to start dealing damage. Unfortunately, I think the Gilded Gladiators are probably going to be one of the lower teams in the league this year. I think that if these guys can get it together and find a team composition that works for them, I think they can start really stealing games off of some of the quote-unquote better teams. But I think it'll be tough for them. Let me see. The Gilded Gladiators will be that team, if you decide to root for them, are going to be that underdog most of the time, and unfortunately, they probably won't be switching it up and having crazy team compositions. They'll just be looking to have a good day, and on a good day, they'll win. So they will they won't win as much, I think, as the Hounds. Next team up is the Highland Ravens. Consists of Haddix, Scream, Venenu, Hurriwind, Barracuda, and Neilma. If you don't know Smite, these names probably don't stand out to you. Maybe Barracuda's does. He's been around like esports for a while. But if you do know Smite, these are all great players. This will be a team to watch. And you'll also notice that Neilma is a coach. What's going on here? Neilma used to be a support for the Oni Warriors. And then before that, he was coach for a support for a couple other teams. But he's a coach right now, which is interesting. I'll get to it in a little bit when I talk about Hurriwind. But let's start with Barracuda. Some people have talked about Barracuda not being as good mechanically as recent years, which I think is insane. Barracuda is very good at the game. You just have to watch a little bit of him play to see that. And he's also one of the best, maybe not shot callers, but minds of the carries, one of the smarter carries about what to do, and as a team, how do we do something? You're crazy if you think this isn't going to be one of the most fun teams to follow. This league. Highland Ravens will have a lot of fans, and it's because all of these 6 players are just great personalities. It will be hard not to smile or laugh when these guys are on the screen. So if this will be a team that will be fun to watch, both in their play and as they are as people, okay? That's a part of pro sports. You like the person, you like the team. That's just how it is. That's how this team will be. Barracuda's really good. He doesn't play that boxing style that often. He kind of waits back and waits till he hits 20 to kind of go forward as an ADC, which is okay. But it won't be a very interesting lane with him in. I don't think he's going to go and try and solo somebody. So don't get that expectation. Hurriwind, it used to be a mid laner and moved to support. And he's in a similar realm as Quig right now. I think he's a little bit better than Quig as a support, and that might partially be because of the experience that's on this team with Venenu and Neilma and Scream and Haddix, but especially Ven and Neilma, I think, and Barracuda are giving him, he's learning quickly, I guess is what I'm trying to say, as a support. Neilma is one of the best supports the league has ever seen, and he's really good at being able to talk to a person and explain things to him. I assume. Neilma has been a personality force on a couple of Worlds winning teams, so I suspect that's happening for Hurriwind, that he's getting really good advice. Venenu is a very stable, very strong mid laner. He team fights really well. This is a very good team fighting team. So the 10-minute, 15-minute, those kinds of time ranges of games, this team will do well if they don't lose before 10 minutes. I'm going to skip over Scream because I'm going to Haddix as a very consistent, very strong. He's like a Nika. He's a Fino-K. There's Haddix. They're strong, good solo laners that play a specific way with their jungler, and they can press forward, but they're also just fine at sitting back and playing variety and waiting for stuff to come to them and then turning on the enemy jungler and solo laner and doing a play. Haddix is he's never going to lose you the game, and he's going to do well to create space for your Venenu and Barracudas. And then we get to Scream, and Scream is an interesting character, where Scream is so smart, so intelligent at the game, but will make you play the game kind of like how he wants to. And by that I mean, the casters will say it all the time, so I'm not going to just repeat what the casters, the casters for the game or other people that talk about Smite. So from what I've seen from some of Scream's streams, from how other people talk about Scream likes to play a certain way, and that's good in Smite. It's good when someone is able to communicate effectively how they want to play and how they want to win. That's really good for a team like this. Sometimes that will lose you games, but it's important to note that will win you games too. Someone as smart and as confident as Scream in a team will win you games, when otherwise if you had another jungler who just played a thing, who just played the meta guy, wouldn't do that, okay? So the Highland Ravens are going to be a fun team to watch because of how around the playstyle that I think Scream will want to play. evolves, the Highland Ravens will be fun to watch. So watching this team means that you love these characters, these people as characters, as personalities within the league, and you're going to have exciting team fight smite to watch. I don't think they're going to come out with crazy team compositions. You'll probably have 4 really stable compositions, and then Scream's going to pick something crazy like ESET, but or Sino would pick ESET, and Scream would pick something crazy too. But these are the things that you expect from this team, and I think they'll be fun to watch. Next up is the Jade Dragons. Consists of Nika, Lasbra, Dardez, Polar Bear Mike, Vote, and Sam Marbach. There's not a lot I can say about this team. If you've seen Smite before, you kind of have an understanding of how this team might play. But I think a good starter, if you're rooting for this team, or you might want to root for this team, is a simple, they will play really well, but depending on how Lasbra or Mike are on the day, they will win or lose. It's that kind of team, I think. Dardez and Vote are very stable, very strong and consistent. Dardez has a god pool that is humongous for a mid laner. A lot of mid laners have a lot of gods in their god pool, but Dardez has some extra. He's like AMC and on her. He has the Hera that can win you games. He has a lot of stuff that he can pull out that are really good when the meta shifts. I think the Jade Dragons will be one of the better teams at predicting a meta shift. Maybe not making it, but they'll be better at predicting and adjusting to one. Vote's a really good carry. He was on the rival teams that I loved. Same with Polar Bear Mike. He was on the next one. These two have a really good, I suspect this will be a very, very good and fun to watch duo lane that comes out of this, because Lasba will rotate into this lane. I think if you want to watch a fun duo lane or mid lane kind of gameplay when you watch SPL, this will be the team for you. Polar Bear Mike makes things happen. He's one of the best, if not the best on some days, support that exists in the league and mined in the game. Lasbra, on a good day, is one of the best junglers, and he loves to gank lanes. So you'll have people like Vote and Nika get kills and get ahead a lot because Lasbra is making that happen. And then Dardez, at the end of the game, you know he's going to have top damage. Somehow Dardez will have like top damage at the end of the game. So the Jade Dragons are going to be they'll get picks. They'll start to like pull ahead of the other team. It's if they can keep that lead and manage to win, then I think they'll be better than the other teams on any given Sunday, I guess. This team will be one to watch. They'll have fans because Polar Bear Mike, Nika, and Lasbra like relatively large streams, and they're really just fun to watch as people and characters for the league itself. So I think this will be a fun team to watch in that they'll get picks, they'll get those like cool plays going. They just have to maintain that consistency throughout the entire game, and then they'll do really well. Now the next team up is the Oni Warriors. This is a young team. It's the team that won the kickoff tournament that started for this year. That surprised quite a few people, and I'll tell you why. The team consists of Solo or Troll, Panatom, Pagon, Awesome Jake 408, and Netrioid, and Oxideon as their coach. None of these 5 players played together last year at all in any way, I don't think. Maybe Netrio. Nope. No, these guys did not play together at all. So, 5 brand new players that play a type of smite that people will sometimes refer to as like the arena kind of smite, where they just run it down, they take fights they shouldn't, they just fight, they fight. Who cares about objectives? Like, we're just going to go at you. The Oni Warriors are going to be the team to watch for more than just a couple of reasons. They're going to be the team to watch because of how they play, how aggressive they play. Solo or Troll, Pagon, Awesome Jake, Netrioid. All 4 of these guys really, really love to be aggressive. Netrioid loves to take the 1v1s. Awesome Jake loves to take fights he shouldn't. Pagon loves to solo the other mid laner and like create dominance in his lane. And Solo or Troll really loves to fight the other solo laner, or make rotations that are out of the blue so he gets a kill. This is a team that loves to fight. It will be a joy. If you like high kill games, like not boring games, high kill games, this is the team to watch. Panatom is incredible at getting farm from his side of the map and the other side of the map because the other 4 players are worried about his teammates killing them, that Panatom's going to get ahead. So this will be a team to watch. Even if this isn't a team that you decide to root for, you should watch the Oni Warrior games because of just how, from a neutral, how fun they're going to be. And if you decide to like this team and root for them, then this is the Oni Warriors. I think as a team as a whole, they will play wonky stuff and they'll play meta stuff, but they'll more likely than not play some wonky stuff that other teams will want to play because they think it's meta because of how they're playing it. That's important. So this was the Oni Warriors. And then the last team, the Styx Ferrymen. Most of this team is the same from last year. They were called the Tartarus Titans. They went to the World's Finals last year. This team consists of Baskin, Cyno, Paul, Aurora, and Cyclone Spin. Cyclone Spin was not the carry last year. That was Stewart. He's come back into the carry role. And then Reels as the coach. Cyclone Spin was the carry last year. Or not last year. That was Stewart and came in for this year. The Aurora Cyclone Spin duo lane will be a lot of fun to watch. It's very similar to like the Rongyu Zapman one. Cyclone Spin likes to fight, but is also just as fine sitting back and waiting until he gets to the late game to blow up tanks. That's a style of play that I know he's done before. Aurora, same as Polar Bear Mike, is just one of the best supports in the game. He can be aggressive, he can be passive, he can set up, he can initiate, he can do it all. And because of that, it will look like sometimes he's playing wrong, but that's not the case. It looks like he's doing something wrong when, in fact, he's actually trying to set up for somebody else, and it's just not happening, or another support's got him out of position in some way. Baskin in the solo lane. Baskin is going to be a lot like Solo or Troll, I assume, in that those lanes are going to be pretty fight heavy because of Baskin. I don't think Cyno will gank the solo lane a ton, but Baskin will take up fights against his lane opponent. He's also really good at the late game for team fights. He's very good at his positioning as a solo laner. It might set him apart in some respects from like some of the other solo laners. I think Fino-K is one of the better positional solo laners in the league. Same with Baskin. So same with Variety. They just know where to be. So that's how Baskin will play. It's a good, if you're a solo laner or somebody who just needs to like watch for positioning. This team is a team that you should watch. Cyno is really good at positioning because he picks some weird stuff like Iset, but he also has really good other gods like the Neza. So this team is a very fundamental team. You wouldn't guess that from how they talk about the game. Paul and Aurora and Cyclone and Cyno, they're kind of like loosey-goosey about how they, I don't know, they're loosey-goosey, but when they play the game, they're so structurally sound that it's a little bit of a dichotomy there on how they talk about it, but how they actually play it. And then Paul's one of the GOATs, I think. Same with Baskin and Cyclone here. He's just one of the best mid laners. He has an enormous god pool. He always gets ahead. He always seems to make a big impact in fights, just out of the blue. You can try to ban him out, ban out his gods, but you can't. So he's a very interesting player. to watch if you're a mid laner or if you're somebody new to Smite, because it'll look like he's doing really dumb things sometimes. But if you've played for a while, you can kind of see where he's coming from with the picks he chooses and the way he plays them. So the Styx Ferrymen will be a fun team to watch. I think they'll win quite a few games. I'm just not so sure that they'll be an exciting team in the way that they play. I think they're just going to play Smite like the other teams, but sometimes they'll just play better. But they'll have losing games against teams that pull stuff out that they haven't thought about. I will say, though, that the Styx Ferrymen, if there's a new meta that happens, they can latch onto it very quickly. They might not make the meta unless Paul or Sino make it somehow, or there's a really good solo laner that Baskin creates. But I don't think they'll be making any metas, but I think they'll be quick to latch on to ones that get created. So they won't be behind. But that'll be the Styx Ferrymen, and they have a really cool logo. So if we're looking just at logos, the Highland Ravens and the Styx Ferrymen have really cool logos. The Eldritch Hounds has a really cool logo too. I think they're going to be a really fun team to watch play. I'll be honest, the Eldritch Hounds are probably the team that I will be watching the most to see how they develop as a team. I really think that this squad of people, these squad of guys, could really get it going once they start to mesh. So I won't lie, this will be a team that I watch quite a lot. But I'm going to give you 3 teams that I'm going to watch and pay attention to when the SPL starts this week. I'm going to watch the Eldritch Hounds. I'm going to watch the Oni Warrior games, not because I'm a fan of the Oni Warriors, but because I think those games are just going to be fun to watch. So I'll go Eldritch Hounds, Oni Warriors, and then for the sake of stuff happening, it's tough. It's a throw up between the Camelot Kings, because they're the reigning champions, because they're pretty quick to getting stuff in. I just think that the Camelot Kings or the Highland Ravens are going to be your next teams that are consistent, that if there's a meta, they'll play it the best kind of teams. But the Leviathans, give them some time to marinate, and then they'll age like fine wine because of Zapman, get it? They'll age like fine wine and be really good near the end of the year, I think. And the Jade Dragons are that team that when they play good, they will play really good, but they might not play good all of the time. We just have to wait and see. So, Eldritch Hounds for me, Oni Warriors, and then your choice between Highland Ravens and Camelot Kings for my third. Again, I choose losers, so good luck, Eldritch Hounds. You're going to lose every game this week that you play. Sorry. But those are my choices there. I know that the current setup is that 4 of these teams are in a group, and then 4 in another group, and they play the teams in their group more often than the other. It would have been cool if they had set that up on the website somehow, or if that is the way that it's set up, please let me know. Send me a comment and tell me that that's how it's actually set up. But yeah, I thought it'd be really cool to do kind of like talk about these teams in some respect on my opinions on them, how I see them from my perspective, and to kind of get other people's ideas. I bet a lot of people who are going to watch this just haven't watched Smite at all, so a lot of what I'm saying doesn't make a lot of sense. But choose a team. Tomorrow, go to the Smite channel on Twitch and see when your team plays, or if they've already played. And if your team won or lost, keep an eye on it. I think that's fun. I think it's fun to do. Esports is a tough thing to kind of get into to start watching. But try, I guess. I'll be posting videos about how teams have done little by little throughout the week, and I think it'd be fun to just, I don't know what I'm trying to go for here, but I think it'd be fun to keep an eye on the SPL this year. So yeah, all right, that's all from me. I'll see you next week, and get excited about the SPL. All right, I'll see you. Bye.